Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. Every once in a while, you find out that someone you have known is even more interesting than you ever suspected, and they live right here. Today's guest is certainly that case. Judith Hoover is nurse manager at Pregnancy Choices and a whole lot more. Good morning.
Good morning, Susie.
First of all, tell us a little bit about what you do at Pregnancy Choices, and then we're going to get into what you do around the world.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, I'm nurse manager at Pregnancy Choices. So I pretty much oversee the running of our free women's medical clinics that we have, one in Canton and one in Massillon, providing free STD testing, free first prenatal checkup, everything that you would normally get done when you get pregnant.
The one thing that I think is important to pick up on that is that people are talking right now with some defunding of another organization that's going on. They're saying that these types of services now won't be available to women, which you're telling me is not true. Not only are they available, but they are free. Can you touch on that a bit?
Sure. Yes, you're absolutely correct. We joke that we are Canton's best kept secret. We would like to change that, but we do offer free women's health services.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, we do STD testing. We help with prenatal care. You know, even if you're not pregnant or not worried about STD, you can come and get a free women's health checkup. You know, we want to be here to serve the women and give them an alternative. And like I said, everything is completely free there, which is wonderful to be able to offer that service to Stark County.
And you're talking about medical professionals. Let's talk about your background a little bit and who these people are that women would be coming to see when they come to Pregnancy Choices for medical services.
Yes, so we have a staff of professional medical people, professionally trained. I'm a registered nurse. We have several OBGYN doctors who work with us, nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, all wonderful, wonderful people who are coming to volunteer their time to give Stark County this option.
Mm-hmm. And again, let's remind everybody where these clinics, these health clinics are located. Do they need an appointment or do you walk in? How does that work?
We do take walk-ins. Appointments are preferred if you can. You can check our website at www.pregnancychoicesforme.com, and you can schedule an appointment through there, give us a call, but also just walk in. We have 2 locations for our clinic currently. One is on Cleveland Avenue in Canton, and the other one is in Massillon.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right, and they can get the exact address and everything at the website there.
That's correct.
All right, perfect. This is really good to know because, as you say, people don't realize this, and we need to get that word out.
That's correct.
Now, not only are you helping women here in town, you somehow, and help me connect these dots, have gotten involved with Samaritan's Purse, and you're helping people all around the world. First of all, how does a nice girl like you get involved in these situations around the world?
Well, you know, Susie, this is something I've felt a call in my life to work internationally in medical, especially since that's what I am, a medical professional. And so, you know, God has opened up different opportunities. I actually worked in Guatemala at a jungle clinic for over a year. So crazy experiences there, seeing God work. And then I worked with Mercy Ships in West Africa, helping provide free surgeries and different opportunities. But how I really got involved with Samaritan's Purse was in 2014 when the world started finding out about the Ebola crisis happening in West Africa. Yeah. And something immediately inside me triggered, and I'm like, God, I know I need to respond to this crisis. You know, if we don't go over there and help them, it's going to come to us, and we have that obligation, that responsibility to go and help. especially as a believer in Christ and, being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Judith, I'm going to stop you right there. An awful lot of us say, wow, I'm going to pray for these people. Not a lot of us say, wow, I need to get over there where there's Ebola, for heaven's sakes, and touch these sick people and help heal them. What, and this is kind of a tough question, I don't know if it's even fair to ask, what makes you do that where most of us say, I will pray for you?
Oh, goodness, that's a really good question, Susie, as to what exactly makes that difference. But, it's that there's something compelling me, that the Holy Spirit compelling that we are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And if I, as a Christian, am not willing to go over there and take that responsibility, who's going to do it? So
there were some that are called, and you listened and you obeyed and you went there. Well, we need to hear all about that experience. We're speaking with Judith Hoover, who has done, after doing some other missions work, are you employed or signed up or in some way with Samaritan's Purse?
So I'm on contract with Samaritan's Purse with their DART program. DART stands for Disaster Assistance Response Team. So it's modeled after the U.S. DART program, where it goes in after disasters. So I'm especially with the medical aspect of that. There's a lot of DARTs that they do that I don't deploy with, but medical ones that I do.
It's remarkable to me. First of all, I'm sitting here looking at a girl who looks like a movie star and, just young and youthful and energetic, and that when something horrible happens in the world, this is the person who's going to do something really physically face-to-face with those people who are traumatized. Talk about going to Liberia and that experience with Ebola.
So, as I mentioned earlier, when I started seeing the headlines about Ebola, I knew I needed to go. So I immediately started watching for organizations sending nurses. And I can't say that I saw, just easily came across a lot of organizations that were wanting to send people.
No, right.
There were some, but I kept watching. And then one day I got a email saying that Samaritan's Purse was looking for doctors and nurses willing to go over to Liberia to work with Ebola. So I immediately emailed them and got hooked up with them, started following through. I was just getting a deployment date for the summer of 2014 when Dr. Kent Brantley was diagnosed with Ebola. And this was a huge shock to Samaritan's Purse because he was one of the main doctors there working with it. So
why? Again, let me stop you. Why is that a shock? Because you're working there with this horrible illness. Wouldn't that be the first thing that crosses a person's mind? Wow, I could very well get it.
It is. You definitely know that there is a very distinct possibility that you could get it. But at this point, there had been very few actual American healthcare workers that had gotten it. There were more international healthcare workers that did get it, but at this point, they thought if we're following protocols and everything, we shouldn't. We should be fairly safe. So since he was the first one, the only expat that was working with Samaritan's Purse in Liberia that ended up getting Ebola. It was a big shock, and Samaritan's Purse had to pull back and decide, okay, where are we going from here? How do we work with this? And Dr. Brantley, you may have seen him in the news. He survived. It's a miracle, thank God.
Yes.
It's wonderful to see. But so they temporarily pulled back. My deployment was delayed, and then later in the summer they started regrouping and sending people back. And so they asked me if I would be willing to go down and take Ebola training with the CDC and Homeland Security. So I did that, and then got the call one day, can you leave in about 2 days' time to go to Liberia for 3 months?
Tell us about the training. What protocols are there put in place for someone like you and other volunteers or other employees and workers for Samaritan's Purse to protect you?
So CDC quickly, in response to Ebola, the Ebola crisis, put together a training to go over different protocols. We went over WHO, World Health Organization protocol. We also went over Doctors Without Borders protocols. They had set up mock stations, where we practiced donning and doffing of the PPE, the personal protective gear.
Is it like a hazmat suit, or what are
Pretty
you wearing?
much. You're like completely covered. You have no skin showing. You usually wear a couple masks. You have goggles. You're wearing several sets of gloves. And let me tell you, it's hot working in those. So we were in Georgia and we were having, 90-degree weather. So it was a really good trial to see how you would do in all that PPE in the heat of West Africa.
And so as far as dexterity, too, would you have to practice being able to administer injections or something wearing lots of sets of gloves?
Yes, that was part of the training is, they had all of these different tasks that you perform that you practice doing in that gear.
So how long did you practice?
That was, I believe, about a 4-day course that we had.
Did you feel prepared?
It definitely helped. It definitely helped. That there's nothing quite like, that prepares you for hitting the ground, but it definitely was a big help.
Well, tell us about then the interaction with actual people. That's completely different than practice. You're there seeing people eye to eye, that you're there, as you say, being the hands and feet of Jesus to them. Tell me about that experience.
So I arrived there, we were having, I think, about 350 new cases of Ebola diagnosed a week there in Liberia when I arrived. So there's sirens all the time. There's bodies on the street yet. Just raw humanity happening and centers getting, expanding just at a rapid rate, treatment centers. So you're surrounded by it, and you get off the plane, and you're immediately have people taking your temperature and are washing in bleach. Every time you go in and out somewhere, you get washed, your feet, your hands, everything washed in bleach. You get your temperature taken. So to this day, when I smell bleach, I still get taken right back to Liberia. And the working with the people, it words fail me with that. The hardest thing for me, I think, was seeing the orphans. There were so many, people, especially the kids who had lost their parents. So many people, everyone, it felt like it was affected, had lost loved ones through this. And I was county coordinator in a jungle area of Liberia that wasn't hit as hard, but they had no health care treatments for Ebola in that area. They were being driven 8 hours in the back of a truck to the nearest treatment center. So I was put back there in charge of overseeing the opening of a new treatment center there.
Wow.
And I would hike back in the jungles with others. I was the only expat out there a lot of the time, but I'd walk back in the jungles with other Samaritan's Purse national employees. And, we'd just come to these little villages and to see the empty huts for people who, families wiped out from Ebola. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I have to stop you there. What a horrible place to have to stop. But we're going to need to take a break, and then we'll come back, and you can tell us the good outcomes you got to see from your service there. You're listening to Our Community.